Hola amigos, welcome back. Friends, today on the Language Tutor, I have a really interesting lesson for you. It's actually going to be a two-part lesson for you. I want to talk to you about stem-changing verbs. Now, you might say, uh-oh, what's a stem-changing verb? It might sound a little intimidating, but let me tell you, it's not a big deal. We're going to master these and conquer them with no problem whatsoever. So, first of all, let's just talk about what is a stem-changing verb. Well, first of all, every verb has a stem. You know, you think about in Spanish, you got AR verbs and ER verbs and IR verbs. Well, if you take off that AR and the ER and the IR, well, you're left with either one syllable or two syllables. Well, that's a stem. That has a stem in there. And so sometimes in Spanish, verbs change their stem when we conjugate them, sometimes. And you know, it's not a big deal. So we're going to take those today. We're going to take the first ones. I'm going to show you how stem-changing verbs work, and I know you're going to take it on and master it with no problem. Okay, so how do you know if a verb is a stem-changing verb? Just by looking at it. Well, I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things, and the easiest way is that when you learn a verb, just learn this is a stem changer. And more importantly, practice that verb in conversation as much as possible, because then you're just going to be using that verb and it's going to sound right to you. It'll sound right, and if you don't change that stem, it won't sound right to you. It's just like in English. We speak it, and if someone says something wrong, a wrong conjugation, well, it doesn't sound right. So you're not going to have any problem with this. Now, you will see some people say, yeah, there's a way to know if a verb is a stem-changing verb. I've seen people that say, well, if you take off that ER or the IR or the AR, and then you start on the left and you go to the very next vowel, and some people say if that is an O or an E, well, it's going to be a stem changer. Now, I'm not sure that we can say that 100% is effective, but the easiest way, again, is to simply learn the word and learn that it's a stem changer. And we could also talk about the history and how the verbs came from Latin, from the Romans. But once again, practice them and you're not going to have a problem with it. Okay, now I hope you have your cuaderno ready and your lápiz or your pluma, because I'm going to give you some rules for stem changing verbs. Okay, so once we identify this is a stem changing verb, first of all, if the verb has two syllables, well, that stem change is going to occur in the first syllable. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. So that's rule number one for stem changing verbs. If it's a two-syllable verb, the stem change will occur in the first syllable. Now think about this. It couldn't be in that last syllable, right? Because that's where the AR, the ER, or the IR is. And that's where we're going to put that ending that we learned those before in a previous lesson. So two syllables, we change the first syllable. If it's a three-syllable verb, we're going to change the middle syllable. Okay, so that's rule number two. Three-syllable verbs, change the middle syllable. All right. Now, rule number three, just jot this down and I'm going to explain it to you in just a minute. Stem-changing verbs only change their stem in the boot. Only in the boot. Now, in a previous lesson, we talked about what the boot is. If you're looking at the chart, it's the three conjugations on the left and the bottom right. That's the boot. It almost forms the shape of a boot, right? Okay, so there are three stem-changing verb rules. Number one, if it's a two-syllable, we change the stem in the first syllable. Number two, if it's a three-syllable verb, we change the stem in the middle syllable. All right. I think now we just need to talk about what some stem-changing verbs are and actually see this in context, okay? So I want to give you a couple of stem-changing verbs really quick. I'm going to give you a two-syllable and I'm going to give you a three-syllable. First of all, here's the verb perder. Perder. It means to lose. Okay, it can also mean to miss the bus. If you say perder el autobús, that's one way to say you miss the bus. You lose the bus. Okay, so here's a three-syllable stem-changing verb. Preferir. Preferir. So we have perder and preferir. Both of these are stem changers, and we're going to use those as our examples today. All right, let's take away preferir really quick, and let's look at the verb perder. All right, now let's think about what we got to do with this verb. First of all, perder is an ER verb, so in just a little bit, we're going to put ER verb endings on it. But first of all, we have to change the stem. Okay, so let's put the chart up right here for you. Perder. Now, let's identify where we're changing the stem. Perder, 2 syllables. So that means we're going to change the syllable in the first syllable, right? Rule number 1, in the first syllable. Okay, so what this means is we got to look for the vowel that is there, okay? We got to look for that vowel. And we see that in the first syllable of perder, that vowel is an E. So I want to go ahead and tell you, if that vowel is ever an E, like this one, it is going to be what we call an IE stem changer, okay? An IE stem changer. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about UE stem changers. But right now, let's just use IE stem changers as our example. Okay, we've stem changed in the first syllable. We've identified the vowel there, it's an E. So we know that's going to be an IE stem changer. All right, now this is what we do. We have our chart up. We are going to simply change that stem in the boot. So the 3 left conjugations and the bottom right. Now, we call this is really simple, guys. We call this an IE stem changer because we need an IE there. It's that simple. We need an IE. Now, let's look at the first syllable of perder. We've got P-E-R-D. Now, if we need an IE there, we've already got the E, so we just simply have to insert an I in the boot only. We don't stem change nosotros and vosotros. They don't change their stems. So what we get now, let's look at the YOL form first. P-I-E-R-D, and now we put the ending on it for ER verbs. YOL form is O. So we have pierdo. Pierdo. That means I lose. Now let's go down to the next one. Tú. Again, change that stem because it's in the boot. And we're going to put the ending for ER verbs for tú, and that's ES. So we get pierdes. Now look at the bottom left. Just an E on this. Stem change it, and we put the E on it, the ending for él, ella, and usted. So we have pierde. All right, now look at the bottom right. We have P-I-E-R-D-E-N. Pierden, okay? Because they lose, or ustedes pierden, you all lose. Now let's go to the nosotros and the vosotros form. We don't stem change there. We don't stem change. So we're just going to leave it P-E-R-D. So perdemos and perdéis. All right. Now let's erase this and let's try the verb preferir. It means to prefer, as I bet you can guess. Now it's a 3-syllable verb. So let's think about the rule that tells us where that stem change is going to occur. And you're already getting it, I bet. 3 syllables, we're going to change the middle right after that F. So it's an IE stem changer. So we're going to insert an I right after that F, only in the boot, right? So let's look at the YOL form here. We've got pre. It's almost like prefer in English if you take off the IR. Now, we're going to put that I in there. Now, let's put on IR verb endings this time. So now we have prefiero. Prefiero. All right, let's go down to the next one. Remember what we talked about before, IR and ER verbs are the same. They have the same endings in the boot. Okay, so we're going to use the same endings in the boot, just where we stem change. So you prefer, tú prefieres. Prefieres. Now the él, ella, usted form, él or ella o usted prefiere. Now look at the bottom right, we stem change right after that F because it's in the middle syllable there. And we have ustedes or ellos or ellas prefieren, en. Now let's go up to the nosotros and the vosotros form. Don't stem change outside of the boot, right? So we're simply just going to put IR endings on this. Preferimos and preferís. Okay, friends, now you see how IE stem changers work. Now, this is what I want to encourage you to do before the next lesson. try to Google or look up, if you have a verb book in Spanish, look up some IE stem changing verbs. Maybe you can research that and try to learn as many as you can. Now, all you need to do is learn that infinitive form, right? Just learn the verb itself. To prefer, to lose. And then I want to challenge you to start using those in conversation, making those stem changes. And I promise you, the more you say it over and over, the more it's going to sound right to you. And you'll have those stem changers down without any memorization, okay? That's it for this lesson, guys. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you on the next lesson of the Language Tutor. Friends, thanks for watching the Language Tutor. If you have a question for me, feel free to leave it in the comment section below the video. And please click subscribe and the notification bell so that you'll never miss any of our language lessons.